We're going to look at finding surface areas, lateral areas, volumes of prisms, a bunch of different things. So a bunch of new formulas this lesson. This is definitely a key lesson. And so first of all, we're going to look at the formula for lateral area. But before we do, I want to make sure we understand what lateral area means. Well, let's look at a prism. This is a pentagonal prism because it has 5 sides in its base. We label a prism based on the base. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in both bases, and they have the same congruent base. What these rectangles are considered is a lateral face. All these rectangles are lateral faces. And where I'm drawing my dotted lines, those are lateral edges. So what we're actually finding when we do lateral area is actually finding the area of this rectangle plus this rectangle plus this rectangle, all the rectangles going around, but one whole, figure, we call that our lateral area. The formula for lateral area is perimeter times height. So let's look at example 1. It asks us to find the lateral area in example 1. We abbreviate lateral area with the letter L. I'm going to write our formula up here. We need to find 2 things, perimeter and height. Well, this is a hexagon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. To find the perimeter of the base, by the way, to find the perimeter of the base, we simply do 12 times 6. Since 12 is the measure and there's 6 sides, and all the sides are 12 because it's a regular hexagonal pyramid or prism, we can multiply and we find that 12 times 6 would be 72. So therefore P equals 72. Height is easy. We see that height is 18. So we multiply 72 times 18 to find our lateral area, and when we do, we get 1,296, and it's lateral area, so it's feet squared. It is still lateral area, even though you are finding perimeter of a shape, you are still doing the area of the whole lateral side. Next, let's look at surface area. The formula for surface area is the lateral area plus 2 times the base. So what I could do is I could break this down further. Rather than saying surface area equals L plus 2B, I could also say S for surface area equals, well, we know L is perimeter times height plus 2 times base. Just so you can see it and make sure you get everything you need for your formula. It may look like a lot of letters, but really it's not difficult doing the math. So let's look at what we know. This is a pentagonal prism, and we know that all the sides, and it's regular, and we know all the sides are 5. And I know this is a little bit off, but anyways, all the sides are 5. So therefore our perimeter equals 5 because that's our number of sides, times 5 because that's our measurement, and we would get P equals 25. So we now have the perimeter. The height is easy. We know that the height is 7. Okay? So I can know what my lateral area is by multiplying those together. 25 times 7 is 175. So lateral area equals 175. Remember, that's the same thing there as perimeter times height. Now we need to find our base. What this big B stands for is the area of a base. Big B equals area of base. And just so you know, if you see a little b, that just means a base. So those are different. So big B means area of a base. The reason it says times 2 is because they're the same base, top and bottom. In a prism, you have the same base. So we need to find the area. Now what it does here is it actually, in the book, it divided this pentagon into a bunch of little triangles. And it showed a dotted line here with a right angle. And it did that because in a triangle, we know the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Well, the base here is 5, and our height is this 3.44. And you may get a better look if you look in your book, but it gives us those two things. So we put that in our calculator and get 8.6. However, just so you know, that's only the area of this triangle. We need to find the area of the whole base. So it says, since there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 triangles, I'm going to multiply that by 5. So then I do 8.6 times 5, and I get 43. So I do 8.6 times 5, that's 43 for the area of a base. So now, what I'm going to do is, here, let me get rid of this stuff here. I'm going to write it out so you can see it. Now we have surface area equals 175 plus 2 times 43. We do multiplication first. So 86 plus 175 is 261, and it's inches, and we're talking about area, surface area. So it's inches squared, 261 inches squared. We'll look at one more concept here, one more formula, and that is volume. Now the difference between surface area and volume, let me describe this. Surface area is the area of all the sides on the exterior. So it's finding the area of this rectangle, all the rectangles, and the bases, adding them together. The volume is the area inside of the figure. So think like if this was full of water, then we'd be figuring out how much water was inside of it. That's the difference between volume and surface area. The formula for volume is area of the base times the height. Remember, big B, area of the base. So first, we see that our height is 9. That's easy. Now we need to find the area of a base. First of all, what is the shape of the base? Well, the base is actually a trapezoid. Okay? So the formula for area of a trapezoid, if you remember, is 1/2 area of base 1 plus base 2 times your height. And so then we plug in everything we know. 1/2 of, okay, one base is 8, one base is 12. And so we plug in 1/2 times 8 plus 12. Now our height, I know you can't see it very well in my drawing, but in the book it says your height is 5. It doesn't show that it's perpendicular, but it says the height is 5. Usually your height is always perpendicular. But anyways, plug that in. It just needs to make it a little more clear in the book. But we know our height is 5, and then we solve. 8 plus 12 is 20 times 5 times 1/2. 1/2 of 20 is 10. Then times 5 is 50. Okay, so your area of the base is 50. And then you take your height, you take your base, multiply them together like the formula says to do. 50 times 9 is 450. Now the difference with volume is you actually do feet cubed. I'm not going to get into why you do that, but you actually do feet cubed. Well, simple reason, you're doing your area of the base, and that's already feet squared. Like this is feet squared. And then you have your height. Well, your height is 9 feet, so when you do 50 times 9, you get 450. But when you do feet squared times feet, you get feet cubed. That's why you do volume as cubed. Now it's going to show one more shape here. It's going to show an oblique prism. An oblique prism is a prism that has at least one non-rectangular face. It's like a prism that has been tilted to one side, essentially. But the formula for volume of a prism still stays the same. It still stays at area of base times height. And so the first thing we do is find our area of the base. First of all, what kind of shape is our base? Well, our base is a triangle. So area of a triangle equals 1/2 base times height of the triangle. Our base in the triangle is 6. Our height in the triangle is 2. Remember, I'm referring to this shape. Oops. Referring to this shape. Base of 6, height is 2, and then solve. 6 times 2 is 12, divided by 2 is 6. So now we know the base is 6. Now the question is, which one is the height? Is it the 11 or is it the 8? Hopefully you remember that your height is always perpendicular to the base. So therefore 8 would be our height. And then we solve 6 times 8, volume equals 48 inches cubed. And so those are a few different formulas. It'll take practice to memorize those and whatnot. But that is how you solve for lateral area, surface area, and volume in prisms.